Good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen. Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts the working day, and we welcome everyone in the press hall and who watch us online. The first topic today, USA DOBRE program is going to award the communities that have achieved the greatest capacity progress. Here we have Ms. Tanya Goda, Deputy Minister for Development of Communities and Territories, Yureis Mukhanova, acting head of USAID DOBRE program, as well as leaders of the winning communities. Hello, I'm happy to welcome you on this cold but festive occasion on day. Today it is the day of local governance. Congratulations, and today we're going to award our most active communities of the third cohort with the greatest capacity, partners of DOBRE program. So during their cooperation with the program, they have achieved the greatest progress. As you know, DOBRE program is mostly focused on supporting development of communities and enhancing their capacity for them to provide better services for their residents, so that they more efficiently use their resources and engage the residents, citizens to decision making. Within the program, we measure that with our local governance index. This is the index that our organization uses in different countries, and for Ukraine, we adapted in line with the Ukrainian legislation. We try to see how the communities execute their mandates, their authorities, how they implement strategic plans, how they manage their financing, how they do budgeting, and the quality of services, how they engage residents of their communities. So all in all, we can see that our communities, when we work with the program, we assess them on the annual basis, we see that they achieve a lot of progress. Here on the slide, you can see the figures, and you can see that the communities that have worked with us since 2017, they started with 22 average score, and now they have 51, almost 52 average score based on that index, and the maximum is 100. Last year, we awarded the first and second cohorts for their achievements, those communities that have achieved the greatest progress. But today we're going to speak about the third cohort of the communities. They've been working with the program since 2018 only, a bit less than the first and the second cohorts. And they also started with the average of 18. But now, after 2 rounds of assessment, they have reached almost 50 average score. We see that urban and rural settlement communities have a bit different starting points. So urban communities are a bit stronger because they have better resources and better opportunity to engage the qualified staff. So everybody achieves progress, and thus we we award the communities based on the greatest progress achieved in cooperation with us. I pass the floor to Vyacheslav Andranovich for him to say a couple of words about capacity of the communities. Good morning. I welcome all the participants here and those who watch, who follow us. I would like to congratulate you on the Day of Local Governance. It is not a holiday as such, but for us, for those who work in this area, that is a professional holiday. And I believe that it was introduced some 20 years ago. Since then, we've been discussing it, that we need to develop local governance, we need to help it to meet the standards and requirements of the European Charter. So there were a lot of discussions on that. Everybody knew how to do that. There were some suggestions, but nobody managed to achieve them. And actually today I made a post on Facebook. So it seems to me that after 2014, after Revolution of Dignity, every day is the day of local governance, because on the daily basis we discuss that on the website of decentralization, we hold fora, we organize meetings, so that's really an active process. And I believe that due to the fact that we have been aspiring and working, struggling for that for so long, this is the idea that we had in our mind, in our hearts. Due to that, we managed to mobilize all the supporters of local government, all those who believe that due to territorial communities as the basis, as that beehive, bee family, we will be able to develop that important potential, due to which we will be able to develop capacity of our state. And it is so nice that a lot of communities, starting from 2015, have undertaken that initiative and have stepped on the path of decentralization. That was quite a challenging time. It was hard. And as always so, new things, it is always about the unknown, about some risks. We keep saying that the pioneers were romantic people, because those who are kind of wise and clever, they wanted to first see how it works. But initially, I believe that this experience, the experience that you've got, and other representatives of communities starting in 2015, and these risks, all of these shocks and problems we've had to deal with, all of that has made it possible for us to have what we have now, to develop this powerful community of supporters for development of local governance. And now our task is that the next local election, so it was to hold next local elections on the new territorial basis, and we've done that. I wouldn't say that it was done perfectly, but that is a political process. This is a process of trade-offs, because this kind of reforms cannot be just made on paper. It is important to have consensus at the regional, at the local level, and in the parliament too. And we've managed to do that. So now we could say that our objective is that all the 1,469 communities plus the city of Kiev, that they had high capacity, so that they could effectively develop, and so that residents of those communities had quality and accessible services. And for that purpose, all of us need to do a lot, because the transformations that are in store for us, actually only yesterday the law 3651 came into effect, the one that we've been looking forward to. Maybe it is not that significant for you, but for those communities that were created from scratch, that was a long-awaited decision, as well as for Rayon councils that were transformed too. So this period until the new year, until the new budget year, it was a very short period, and we need to undergo that together, to go through that. But going back to communities, I would like to once again emphasize that it is so important for us that in every community there is the atmosphere of development. Actually, now in Ukraine, we have started the new history for development of local governance, actually, because never in the history of the independent Ukraine, it has never been so that all the communities, whether this is an oblast significant city or if it is a small village, all the communities now have the same status in the state and direct inter-budget relations. So far, the law has not yet been amended, but this is a work in progress, so they will have the same capacity, same mandates, It is important that they have equal opportunities regarding financial resources and other factors that actually add up to that joint potential to develop the community. So for us, it is so important to have this experience that has been achieved by the DOBRE program. And I always say it's good that we have DOBRE. And during these years, the first cohort, as you refer to them, the second, the third ones, actually, based on these communities, it was possible to develop and pilot certain models and ways to assess their capacity. And it is very important for us that this experience that we now have, that you have gained, that it not only stays with you and becomes, but that it is also becomes best practices for other communities, because your experience is so valuable now, especially for those who only start their work in that direction. I would like to once again emphasize the importance of this issue, because today we are going to award the best of the best. However, it is so important that these achievements, the progress that we have in common, that it were also applied in the future. The ministry, together with international technical assistance program projects, with the experts, the ministry is planning to develop assessment, capacity assessment framework. Recently, we've been doing that based on decentralization monitoring, but now it's important for us to keep track of not only financial capacity, budget capacity, but also other aspects of communities' capacity, where it is not even so much about ratings. It is for the communities to have a better understanding of where they still have some unused potential, so that we could see which communities need assistance. Maybe they need financial or organizational support, methodological support, any kind of support. So it's important for us that this development, that it were happening on the ongoing basis. Let it be competition among the communities. Let them compete, whether they engage businesses and investments. Let them compete with their best products that they produce. It is important for us that every community finds its niche, so that the brand were not only on the website, in the logos or whatever. It's important that every community has its products and cultural activities where it would be possible to recognize the community. So they need to discover what's theirs, what's their own. So assessment, it is not a technical process where you add up some indicators, calculate that, and that's it. Now, that's a much deeper process, and it is so important for us to discover this internal potential energy of the community and engage them to develop. So thank you so much. And of course, I very much welcome everyone here in this audience today, those who have come to receive their certificates, their awards, and we are happy to share this joy with you. Then I suggest that we go down and we award our winners. And while we do that, let me note that this is not just a certificate or award. This is about additional funding for the implementation of their projects and priorities within the strategy. So that's an important award, and this is about the capacity for additional initiatives in the community. Pomyśnianska city community, so they have achieved the greatest progress for urban communities. Congratulations. We also welcome Wysokopille, rural community. So among rural communities, they've achieved the greatest progress in development of their capacity. this is for settlements, and for villages. We have two winners here. It is Mykolaievska and Dmitrievska amalgamated territorial communities. You're welcome. Both of them have achieved the same progress. It is 59 points of the score during their cooperation with the program. And now I invite everyone to say a couple of words, and we will go back then to the stage, and we will hear more details about how our communities have achieved their progress. So probably we start with Pomyśnianska community. They were the first to be awarded. So, Mykola, could you tell us more about what exactly you've done in your community and how this progress became possible? Well, since 2018, we've been working with DOBRE program. Until then, we could hardly imagine how it works. However, some experts were engaged, we had consultations, advice, together we developed the development strategy, and when developing that strategy we could see a lot of gaps that we had in our community. For example, youth policy, gender policy, operation of healthcare facilities, because and medical facility was kind of delegated or passed on our balance. We didn't know what to do about that. So when we developed the strategy with the experts, when we had the discussions, we realized that for youth policy, for healthcare, we need to invest a lot of efforts. So the strategy was developed in such a way that now we have a new X-ray capacity facility, which is so important for healthcare. And we have built a youth center. So now we have a great hall, one of the best in the city. We are now developing a trading place, because we try to overcome unsanctioned trade. So we establish this site, and that was also supported by DOBRE. We've had a lot of fora, environmental fora. We have e-newspaper, YAMP. We are now focusing on the gender policy, and we try to overcome that gap between men and women. We deal with inclusiveness related issues. So we have a much better idea now about what a community should be. So this actually engine that helps our community to develop, we have repaired it, we have upgraded it, and we will make sure that it will be efficient, 100% efficient, that we will engage even more youth and women, and that so that we had more opportunities to implement those programs that we've developed. And due to this strategy that we developed together with DOBRE experts, we are going to develop that. And this award, I see it as a kind of gratitude and motivation. I'm so grateful for this award, and I'm so proud that our community has managed to organize work in such a way that we have won. We are one of the winners among the winners, developing capacity of our community. And of course, we will have these discussions with the community. We have a lot of projects, and I always say that if we had 100 million hryvnias, those 100 million would not be enough. So even this small amount, even though it is for us quite a significant amount, we will go back to our councillors, to those who had doubts or who opposed our work, those who were critical about that, who published on some nonsense on Facebook. So when we tell them that you are saying nonsense, look what we're doing. So I mean, this is so much needed, and I'm very happy to be here. And of course, having had this discussion with the community, we will adequately use the funds to develop our community. Thank you. Now, Hanna, you are a new leader. Your community has achieved a lot of progress, but you have not yet led the community. But have you had time to be introduced to those achievements, and could you present the priorities for further development? Yes, I'm a new head, but I used to be a counselor in the previous convocation of the council, so I know everything about our cooperation with DOBRE program. I know that today it should have been the Mr. Zastava, Ruslan Zastava, the ex-settlement head. He worked with the community and with the program, and he explained how important it is to develop this cooperation. And of course, I very much recognize his achievements and merits. When I am back at the next session, I will request that we express gratitude to him because his contribution was invaluable. Our cooperation with the program started in October 2018 when Vysokopilia community was selected to participate in the third cohort of DOBRE partners. To assess the situation, the status of the community, we were introduced to PACI assessment for 4 key areas: leadership, management, finance, quality of services, and public engagement. So together with DOBRE, by and by, we improved our indicators for all the areas, but we achieved the greatest progress in strategic planning and public engagement. For the first time in our community, together with Polish experts of the program and engaging active representatives of the community, businesses, NGOs, we developed a strategy for development of Vysokopilia community for 2019 through 2025. Our residents also actively engaged in various areas of program implementation. They were actively engaged in discussions. They acted as volunteers. So due to joint efforts in our community, we have implemented such programs as voting for the first project and installing bus stops in the community settlements, support for ATO Veterans Organization Center for Civic Activism, then organization setting up and support for the Youth Council. They worked on Youth Hub, the facilities for sports, for choreography. Our women attended the Women's Leaders at Academy, and they implemented the project of the for child development facility. But the greatest focus was implementation of the project for local economic development and setting up the multimedia center in Vysokopilia community. For that purpose, we already have the NGO Kranau educational organization. We are completing report, engaging volunteers, and funded from the local budget. In the multimedia center, we are planning to train students of the 9th through 11th years of studies, other representatives of youth and community. We will provide photo and video services. We will create promotion program materials for business persons, and we even developed a separate communication strategy for that sake. Everything that we were taught and how we implemented that, well, I cannot really tell you in detail in a couple of minutes, so let me express gratitude to our previous program specialist, Evgenia Verigura, who helped to implement our joint projects, and I would like to assure you that our community is ready to further cooperate closely with DOBRE program, and let me assure you that having had the discussion with our extended community, because now we have +5 settlement and 1 village communities, well, they've joined us having a lot of problems, and we don't even know who should be the first to be assisted. So now we are going to have these joint meetings, the councillors and the community, to discuss where we use these funds and who needs that most, and that will be decision of the community. Thank you. I hope that these funds will also be used for these priorities to support the new communities, and it will be possible to revise the strategy to include them. Yes, of course, we will cover their challenges and we will include them into our development strategy. Thank you. Now, Natalia, I have a question to you. Vyacheslav Andronovich mentioned that DOBRE program is a kind of pilot program and is like a platform to attempt new approaches, to pilot new models. What would you recommend based on your experience for other communities? Dear Yulia, dear colleagues, I would like to congratulate you on the professional holiday. So the state celebrates that, the state respects this activity, and I'm very much impressed, positively impressed to be here today. Last year we were nominated for the award, but this year we are winners. Our community is not that large. If you compare us with urban or settlement communities, we are village community. And actually, even before that, we have good capacity. We developed mostly due to our own funding. And Vyacheslav Andronovich, if he wishes, he can check whether that's true, what I say online. And let me now emphasize that, as well as everyone, I was a bit apprehensive, as mentioned by Deputy Minister. I was in that cohort that was rather waiting for others to show some best practice, because I was afraid to lead my community in the wrong way, because we've had the processes where village council was fragmented. It was before 1991, and I was a bit apprehensive or cautious. We were trying to prepare ourselves for decentralization process since 2008. I could say some projects relating to decentralization, but I was waiting for the opportunity to see how it goes. And when I was able to see that that is a process that is inevitable, so we actually started working actively in 2017. And now I would tell you that I do regret that we didn't start that activity together with everyone who started in 2015. We've missed a lot, in particular financially. So the DOBRE program over these 2 years provided us with a lot of learning, because before that we didn't have a development strategy, and I'm grateful to Mr. Przemyslov, who it took him 10 months to eventually help us develop that strategy. We launched a public civic budget. We have a lot of projects implemented. I believe that for rural areas it is important to develop projects regarding management of solid domestic waste. That was a very challenging process for us, but due to DOBRE program, we had financial assistance. We also co-financed that. It's hard to overestimate the work that was that was supported by DOBRE program. And above all, that's not so much about financial support, but about learnings, trainings, seminars, meetings, discussions. And repeatedly, we are very grateful to Mr. Bererid, and Yulia also engaged. And our curator, our mentor, Victoria Kulikova, all of them tried to teach and convince us, because there was quite a lot of workload. Experts of the village council, they have their main jobs, and in addition to that, they had to keep working on the documents. However, we managed, and maybe that proves that the capacity index shows that Dmitrievska community, among the 54 communities of Kirovograd, it is in the top 3. And ahead of us, there is Alexandria city. So we are a village, but we try to keep pace with the leaders. Out of 1,400 communities, we are number 111. So amalgamation, that's good, and I agree with my colleague. I wouldn't like to criticize, but what we've done now, Vyacheslav, it is so different from where we soon after we were amalgamated, we see that the situation is where the stronger communities have to support the weaker ones, because those who didn't want to amalgamate voluntarily, we could see why they were apprehensive, because they had the budget for just consumption, while our budget is budget for development. So I believe that together with my team, I have a strong team, I have good experts in the village council, we have good councillors. So I hope that we will continue moving on. We will do everything possible in order to enhance our community and thus to contribute into development of Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you. I agree that you have a very strong team, and the index is another proof of that, and I wish you further success. And now, Victor, you will be the last to speak, the last one. So we had a discussion here about how to use these funds. So do you have any ideas about that? Good morning. I welcome you all and congratulate you on today's local government days, and I wish you health and I wish you development, because if communities develop, the country develops. I'm grateful to Mr. Nikoda for this best decentralization reform, the best that we have ever had in Ukraine. Due to decentralization, we made friends with DOBRE program, we engaged into the program, and that's cool, because these are the opportunities that only become available where you amalgamate communities and where you engage. We have been with the program for 2 years, and over these 2 years we've done a lot. This is about a lot of efforts, a lot of work. The first thing that we did due to DOBRE and DOBRE support, it is development of the strategy for development of the community. Consultants from Poland were engaged, who for a year, for 10 months, worked with us. And we engaged all the citizens of our community from all the villages in order to explore the programs and how to develop our community, the problems. So when we did the analysis, above all, we paid attention not so much on the road infrastructure, but healthcare, administrative services, water supply, so that the citizens could have access to the most basic and efficient services. With the help of DOBRE program, until we developed the strategy for the period until 2027, and we started working there. The first issue for healthcare, there we implemented the project with the support of the state. We built a state-of-the-art outpatient clinic for family doctors. They have vehicles, they have new equipment. And we have also started building water supply system in smaller villages that are remote from the central village, where the center of the community is. With the support of DOBRE, we procured excavator, a modern excavator. It is more than 2 million hryvnias, and I'm so grateful because it helps us with water supply, with repair work. That's a very good positive contribution. Most importantly, we started gaining knowledge, and this is important for our team, because a village, well, we didn't have experts in the village. We needed to train people for them to do their job, and that's also an important step. We've started developing cooperatives, and we invite people to come and see our, for example, bee managers cooperative. With the support of DOBRE, we procured an unit that produces honey, does the packaging, so we can immediately sell that to points of sale. In Ukraine, there are just 2 of them, and one of them is ours. That's cool. And this is about employment. People are employed, they develop this activity. We have a powerful youth center that is actively developing. They produce their products, they participate in exhibitions, and they do this kind of stuff. Also, we have we engage into gender-related activities. We have a team of women where they have meetings and discuss the related issues. Also, with DOBRE program, we engage into cultural activities and sports activities. We have the cycling movement from 5 oblasts of Ukraine. Those cyclists come to meet our community. We have great landscapes, and most importantly, we have the people who host the visitors and are ready to share about their village, to speak about their village, about the nature. And I'm very grateful. I'm grateful to Evgenia, who accompanied us during these 2 years. She really helped us a lot. She is a professional. She mentored us. She gave us some ideas, and that was a very important contribution. I'm so grateful, and I believe that we will work for not just 1 more year, but for 2 years and more years, and endlessly to develop our community. Thank you. Thank you. Your communities, especially Dmitrievska and Mykolaievska, have proven that even rural communities that start from maybe a lower bar, lower starting point, they can be leaders and they can prove that they can actively develop and they have good teams. So, Vyacheslav, maybe you have some comment on to that. Above all, I would like to express gratitude to the leaders, community leaders here, because they undertook this leadership. They were brave, and thank you for your being so positive about the ex-leader. That's an important quality. And this is something that needs to be a tradition here. You know, when I became a city mayor of an oblast center, we started celebrating the day of the city, and then we didn't have mayors. We had heads of executive committees. So I invited all the ex-heads, 3 or 4 of them, and the first thing I told to them, I said, I would like to express gratitude to all of these people who have done so much for this city. I haven't done anything yet. I've just been elected. And I will try to do my best to do as much and hopefully more than them. So you always need to be respectful to those who've done something, either in the framework of DOBRE program or when addressing other issues. And then people will be grateful to you. And actually, I believe that we need to come together to have this community spirit, to develop this unity, this family feeling. So, enjoying this opportunity. Again, we speak about resources, projects, strategies, and all of that is good, but I believe that every strategy needs to, above all, focus on how to kind of bring this community together. It's not that just we formally make them amalgamated. We need to make it so that people have this spirit of unity, the family spirit, so that you have meetings, so that, well, we have polyethnic communities with representatives of minorities. So there, we need each culture, each tradition to be supported, to be developed. to organize some local festivals to bring people together. Again, that's an important perception of this unity, especially in the current situation, because sure, there are some limitations, but we need to look for ways to avoid alienation of local authorities and leaders of the communities from people. Because frankly speaking, sure, where authorities are closer to people, well, in local governance, as we had before amalgamation, well, maybe they were closer to people, but they didn't have the capacity to do anything. Well, there were just 5 people who would come to work there, but they didn't have significant budget, they didn't have significant responsibility, because you have no resources, so you cannot really make decisions. But now you've undertaken, well, a lot of responsibility, and it is so important for us because the economy situation is going to be challenging. We can see that this year and next year it's not going to be easier, and sure, the expectations that we have, like revenues to the budget, etc., they are going to be quite hard to predict, and we need to preempt these risks and not to just blame each other. Unfortunately, this is what happens globally. So we need to come together, we need to help each other, and again, we need to bring communities together, because a strong community, it is something that helps you, representatives of the council and leaders. They also need your support, sometimes compassion, empathy. So I wish you every success, and of course these are very special awards, certificates. I believe that you will keep them cherished, and this is not so much about money. I'm very grateful to DOBRE program for their discovering this opportunity to allocate these resources. But that's about motivation, that it is an incentive for you to work. It helps you to understand, to realize that, well, it is something that you can address, you can achieve success and have that success story. And that makes people more confident that we will win, local governance will win, and everybody who is trying to oppose to that, they would better give up and join the efforts with local governance. Thank you for this very positive address. On my behalf, on the behalf of DOBRE program, I would like to once again celebrate your achievements and express gratitude to you for the change that you implement in your communities. And to me personally, this is the greatest inspiration. When I visit those communities, I see changes, transformations in the communities, and for all representatives of local governance, for all those who work at the level of local governance, to you I wish inspiration on the daily basis for you to implement these changes, transformations in local communities, and to do what we are implementing the decentralization reform for, to improve living standards of the residents and to implement the changes that they anticipate for their communities. Thank you all, and congratulations.